Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. And as always, we have a special guest from another side of things, but in the sporting industry. And I'm glad to say, Mohamed, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Tell everybody what you do.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Mohamed Eltayeb. I'm a sports journalist and presenter at Doha News. I've been doing that for the last 2 years almost.
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Whoa, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And tell us your story before. How did you find yourself in Qatar?
Well, actually, I'm born and raised in Colorado. Grew up there my entire life. My senior year, I had a decision to make, and it was go to Boulder University or go overseas. My mom was really pushing me, go overseas. I got accepted to Northwestern. They flew us out, and they were just like, come look at the university, come see what's about. And I've known about Qatar. I've traveled before, but back then there wasn't a lot.
Right.
So there wasn't much giving, and then I come to the campus and I just fell in love with the whole resources of the campus, how much investment they put on the students, millions of dollars for such a small students. And I said, okay, I'll come over, and majored in journalism and minored in media and politics at Georgetown. After graduation, COVID, went back to the States for vacation. Then I said, you know what? I really want to go back to Qatar, and I want to work there. I envision my life there.
Oh, wow.
And I've been here now 3 years, 3.5.
But Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado.
Nice place.
Beautiful mountains.
Mountains, skiing.
Snowboarding.
Oh,
Yeah, the whole thing.
Word.
The whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow. Have you always been into sport?
Always, yeah. I'm the oldest of two younger brothers, so we're old boys. My dad's a football player. Football as in soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to get that right.
Yeah, football as in soccer. And I loved playing basketball growing up. I was always just trying new things. I did snowboarding to get a scholarship. I didn't get the scholarship, but I fell in love with the sport. Ultimate Frisbee, all these things, I just put myself into it. So when Doha News came knocking, it was right before the World Cup. They needed a sports journalist. And I was like, absolutely. I was working in marketing, and it wasn't really me. Just sitting on the table, I felt like I needed to use my skills and my knowledge.
And then the World Cup.
The World Cup.
Bring it on.
The greatest World Cup.
And for everybody listening out there, okay, you're from the States.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your impression of the World Cup?
Because I came in 2017, so this hype about the World Cup has been going on for some time. And then the couple days before, I'm nervous because I'm going to present and work as a sports journalist for Doha News, which is one of the major leading outlets in the Qatar. So all eyes are on us. And I'm thinking, how are they going to host this, And, doubts. Up until the day of the World Cup, streets, everything was just going so smoothly. From day 1 to day 30, it was an experience. From meeting people, forget just the football, forget the matches that were going on, forget the Messi, the Mbappe final, just the fan experience. I think, I had my dad fly in. He saw the game, saw it from the fan zones as well. And you just meet so many people, and it's so smooth, felt safe. Obviously, safe is always the key word, because you don't have to worry about anything but literally a game and just getting there.
Yeah.
And we saw the greatest.
But it was the greatest.
Yeah,
I was the official England fan leader.
Oh yeah.
Here, and it was so impressive. I'm so proud to have been a part of it. I really was, and but it was an incredible journey.
No, it was.
It was an incredible journey, and as you said, the fans were just so united.
Yeah.
United. Just going back to that, you're a student.
Yeah.
And now, Doha News is one of the biggest news outlets here in Qatar. You've got this responsibility of being their journalist in sports. That must have been a little scary as well as being a little bit exciting.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, football, or soccer, it was very. I mean, I knew Ronaldo, I knew Neymar, I knew all the icons, but it wasn't my sport. And so I remember picking up a book when I got the job, and I had a month notice to join my new job as a sports journalist. I'm reading how to be a sports journalist, how to write about football, how to capture like the moments at a game, watching it from screens, how to talk about the players. So I had to dive deep. I had to like study to deliver my job.
Yep.
To do it the best I can. So it was a lot of pressure, and I had to learn the game from a fan, like as a fan perspective and as a journalist perspective, and how to mesh those two worlds together to the World Cup in the first time in the Middle East, and how do we do all that, in a way that doesn't physically, mentally strain me, because we were working every single day of the World Cup.
And it was a tough one, right?
Yeah,
it really was a tough one, even from our side.
Yeah.
Like we were doing 3 news programs on a daily basis,
my God,
literally.
And trying to enjoy the game.
And what it was all the interviews was in Arabic, right? So you had a earpiece in having the translation, but I would be talking like this to you, asking you a question, and then they would be translating it, and there was a delay. So you had to, instead of the delay being, it was live TV. So you had to think what they were saying to you and then go in with your answer. So it was really good for me. It kind of really helped me in so many ways. But I'm still going to press you on this one.
Yeah.
It's like you've not long finished university, and you've been thrusted into this position.
Yeah.
And you had to come into the most probably the most difficult time. It could have been the most easiest time, but you come into a difficult time where you had to perform. There was no other option for you. How did it go for you? When did you start enjoying the competition?
I think it took me a while, I'll be honest. Because before I even became a journalist, I was working in marketing. And my brother was in town, and he was staying with me for a couple of like weeks to a month. So we went on vacation, and I remember just feeling this unsettled, like I'm not really doing what I learned for 4 years of studying. So I told him, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna work as a journalist, and I don't have a lot of options in Qatar. So it's either this platform or that. And I kept looking into Doha News, and I said, I have to do it. Like I have to do it, and I have to do it like now. Finally, I got in, and then you get thrusted in. I think I joined in July, a couple months right before the World Cup, and they're like, okay, here's all our World Cup content. We're gonna cover the games, and we're gonna do this. Figure it out, and it was very nerve-wracking. And up until even the opening, I remember I was stationed at the FIFA fan zone at Bidha Park, 40,000 people, and I'm writing a story about the game, the results. We're creating mobile journalism, reels, live coverage of what's going on, and then I'm also presenting. So I have a cameraman and me, and I got to present a certain game. And I remember just like sweating, and just like my days, so much people going on, people interrupt, people around you, everyone's excited, and you're just like, I'm excited, but I have to do my game. So I think I had to accept that mistakes will happen. I'll be really loud, or maybe my delivery in my presentation won't be as smooth as I want it to be, but I have to be patient. I'm not going to get it right. And I had to accept that from kickoff. And then I think group matches came in, and then I just said, what's the rush? What's the stress? Like, honestly, I'm in control here. If I want to redo it, I'll redo it. If my other colleagues are stressing me out, I tell them, guys, just give me a minute. I'll be honest, because this is terrifying. And it was my first time covering anything. So the first time I covered anything was the World Cup, and my parents are watching from the States, and my friends and my family, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I want to look good. I got to do this, I got to do this right.
But you had to grow up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Was your master's, your degree, was that all to do with sports?
It had to do with journalism and politics. Sports, I never thought I would really dive into sports.
That's what I was going to say to you next. Did you ever think that sports is going to be my thing?
Because I've always, I thought sports was like, okay, it's cool, I love it, I'm passionate about it, but I was more into politics growing up. And so I always thought like, okay, I'll be in some political like industry. And media is politics, and sports is also politics, as we saw at the World Cup. So, like at one way it was like, okay, I love politics, but I also love this game. Whether it's not my my gift, I can't kick a ball like that. I can dribble, but I can't kick. But I understand it. I understand the passion. I understand the competitiveness, and I understand the politics of it all. Happening in the Middle East for the very first time, all eyes on us, the world, the Western world, and as someone from the West, I was like, I feel like a duty to represent myself and represent Doha News and represent a resident of Qatar.
But that's such a powerful statement that you've made there.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody that wants to hear it, that's what we're all like, right?
Yeah.
The people that have spent their time here, that's what they feel like. And it was an incredible time where we all had to be ready.
Yeah.
We had to be ready. Now, with your sports, you could have made a name for yourself, or you could have been out of a job very quickly.
Yes.
But you've managed to, and I've watched your progress to a certain degree. I've seen you with you don't just write, you do multiple things, as you said, present in reels, all those types of things. You've got to continually think about the aspects that you've got to pull from. What is it that's your biggest strength? Is it the writing, or is it the presenting, or what is that one that sets you different to everybody else?
I think, honestly, I'm a writer. I love to write because all up here, I like to just put that on paper or on the laptop. Presenting is great, but there's a limit. I think writing, you can choose the words. You can say the same thing for presenting. You can showcase a facial expression. I've outside of sports, I went to Turkey for the evacuations of the earthquake.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, that story was, I was writing PSG story, typical day in the office, and they said, "You're going to Turkey?" And I'm saying, "Oh, it's the earthquake, guys. There's no games going on there." So yeah, going for the earthquake. And it was the first mission that Doha News has ever been on. As a sports journalist, it felt very strange to be on it. But it was just like, okay, I'm going to be able to write something that I'm really, really good at, something presenting, which is something I'm really growing into. Now it's on a serious international level with death, with destruction, instead of football and cheers at the end of the sentence. So I kind of found a way to portray my feelings on the story when I was writing it, and hold up, because I think when you're presenting, you're holding all elements together. You're trying to paint a picture, but briefly, because it's not about you. It's really about what's going on behind you. And I find that to be sometimes a bit difficult as of right now.
Big responsibility.
Big responsibility, very big.
And to get that emotion in your writing, you're afraid of ChatGPT?
I am. I think I'm not a fan of it. I stay away from it. I'm not up to like what versions they have. I think it's gonna take over our industry, obviously, but also take away the feeling, take away what it means to like be interviewing somebody and hearing like from their hearts and like what is going on. ChatGPT can't mimic that. And
that's the thing, right? And I brought that up as an important factor. You're not going to get that feeling that you had in that earthquake.
Yeah, no, you're not.
It's like, what kind of effect? You're a young man.
Yeah.
What type of effect did that have on you?
Yeah, I remember they asked me, like, "Are you sure you're ready to go?" I don't have family here, so I didn't. My parents found out I was going when I was on the flight. I was at the U.S. base. That's where we fly out. And I was telling them, "Yeah, guys, we're going to Turkey." My mom, I think, like, stayed up that night. She calls me, "What's going on? What do you mean you're going to Turkey? The earthquakes?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're taking me." Like, "Why'd you go?" But they're not surprised, because I've always kind of thrown myself into the abyss. And like, just like coming into Qatar, not knowing anything, it was like, I saw it the same, like, okay, I got assigned to this, I got to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I remember them telling us, you don't know how many days we're going to be there, you don't know where you're going to stay, you're just going to go. And I was, to be honest, I wasn't as nervous as I was when I was at the World Cup fan zones. Because I feel like it was, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? I mess up the coverage, like what really can happen? As long as I do the best I can, I produce the best work, and I do it honestly, I don't think anyone's gonna paint a different type of picture.
No, and I've got to be honest. I was watching Facebook or something, and you were on presenting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm interviewing that guy this week. That's fantastic, because you are really good at what you do. You are fantastic at what you do, actually. Now, and in saying that, let's talk about the sport more. So after the World Cup, how has things developed for you? What do you find yourself doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis? What are those things that you're involved in? What are those exciting things that you're doing?
Well, we went on an international level, Qatar sports, and now we're very much in the local level. I recently covered the Mir Cup, and we've been doing that a few times, and covering local games, even community games. Like in Ramadan, there was the Pearl. They had a football tournament. So we're really trying to touch base with the community. So finding stories within Qatar, because Qatar is a very small place, yes.
Yeah, of course.
3 million people. But within those small spaces are huge stories, from paddle to jiu-jitsu, MMA, things that you never really think about. Cricket, like I go to a gas station in Lusail, and behind it there's cricket players, and I'm always like, that's a story, what are
12,000 people take part in that every Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
There we go.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
Massive movement, right?
Absolutely. So it's really trying to find the local niche, community, because I think we knew the World Cup wasn't going to change everything. It was going to put a spotlight, and now it's about retaining that spotlight, and especially in sports. So Qatar, I think, really has done a great job on that. My portfolio has gone from cricket to paddle to beach volleyball to, like chess, like every sport, e-gaming.
Yeah, e-gaming is massive, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
So diverse, and trying to really gain my attention on everything, and knowing that, and holding it to a significant value, because I don't think there's anything less or greater. I think in the end, it's sports, and if it feeds one fan, it feeds another.
Yeah, and as you said, you brought up a few sports there, but there's just so many things that's happening here. Motorsports,
yeah. F1. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
But there's many different other motorsports that's happening. Yeah. It seems to have created such a movement, and everybody wants to get involved. And I think that's with Qatar in general, in all sports, because all these world championships that want to come here, I said this the other week, is that they all get treated like superstars.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful thing. And I don't want to even name a sport to say, but there's some smaller sports that they're like superstars when they get the VIP treatment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people can then realize what they're a part of. They go along with the hard slog, but all of a sudden they come to a place like this. The weather's perfect.
Yeah.
Majority of virtually all the time. And they're being able to express in a very nice environment.
Yeah.
You must see that. What do you get from the athletes that you see come here, the ones that you interview? What's their impression of Qatar?
I think all the time you hear great, great, great. And you're like, okay, guys, come on. Like, maybe you're saying that now, but honestly, I was a high jumping Muhtaz Barsham's like great challenge the other 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And I was at the press conference, and as a journalist, you really go from A to Z, from the beginning, the announcement of this game, and until the very end. So you follow this whole journey, and you really can't see, like, Qatar, when it comes to hosting, it's just insane. There's nothing like it, from F1, Lusail Sports Circuit, to Lusail Stadium, to like Qatar Theater. Yeah. Everything is great. These athletes, I think they find everything very simple. You don't have to travel to great lengths. And most of the time, everything's already been here. And when you hosted the biggest tournament of like the world, it's not going to be hard to host anything else.
No fear.
Yeah.
Right? There's no fear. And the facilities here are just unbelievable. But let's get back to you. Okay? You do so many different things, and you must be continually on the go. what are those things that really give you the highlight? What are those things that really mean something and is impactful for you?
I honestly think, and this is a cliche answer, but it's what got me into wanting to be great was, or in that mission was, like when I hear from other people, like students, or like someone at the street. Because getting recognized, is really cool, I'll be honest, right? But when it happens on a small level, like I'm at a graduation and kind of like, hey, you're Mohamed from Doha News. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, you went to this institution? I'm like, yeah. And, he's telling you about his dreams. Because once, 5 years ago, I was telling some other person my dreams. And it's really important to me, especially with, there's not a lot of people that are black or young, especially in the sports, in Qatar. It's to be honest, a 30, 40 plus demographic. I'm often the youngest person there. And it seems really nice that that's changing. There's opportunities, and there's places like Doha News that are really youthful driven. So when you find people that you can easily talk to and just say, hey, yeah, this is what I do, and a mentorship program that kind of starts when I need mentoring myself. I mean, I'm nowhere near that mentor level, but it really motivates you on those days that, man, I really don't want to go to this game. It's 40 minutes traffic, and you're like, nah, because this is something cool. It's cooler than my last job, and I know it might be more cooler than my next job. So at the moment, I'll make the most out of it.
How do you get yourself excited before you go to this one? How do you get yourself, because you've got to put yourself on another level. You've got to, you must have some kind of routine. Honestly,
sometimes I think before the World Cup or during the World Cup, it was just reading about this, like watching it from like other outlets and saying like, wow, I'm going to cover that. So I should be excited. But most of the time I'm already excited because I'm a fan already. So if I wasn't a journalist, I would be there. I'd be at these events because I love to go, even if it's not my sport, like cricket or paddle. I just got into it because I loved watching it, and I was like, I think I could do that. So it's just the natural way of being a sports athlete is wanting to get excited.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring back the cricket because you said about the cricket. Tell people what they play on here. Is it grass?
No. It's dirt road. It's not even road. It's just
road.
Dirt.
No,
it's just dirt.
And there is no pitch, right? There is no playing surface. It's just and there could be rocks and things,
rubble
and different things. But that 12,000 movement on these days that they get. So it is seeing that passion. It is the camaraderie. And this is all expats from India, from Pakistan, from Sri Lanka. They all go out there, and boy, do they compete. And it's very important. Hours and hours. Yeah, you're right. And sometimes in the very hot weather, they've got a real passion for it. But and I'm just trying to you're very young, right? And a lot of people are going to look up and say, oh, you're in the right place at the right time. Okay? And I would sometimes joke with people to say, oh, you've had it lucky. You've kind of... But what were those kind of things that you were up against? And what were those things that you could say to somebody now to say, hey, listen, what you've got to do, this is what you've got to do. I know what I went through, and you've got to keep on believing this.
Yeah.
What are those things?
Honestly, I don't believe in luck. I just believe in, I got blessed very, very early. I'm a very hard-headed person. So when I left my job and I said, I want to live in Qatar, and there's only a few places, I'm going to do the most I can. I'm reaching out to these people that I work with now and contacting them. Hey, just give me an interview. Just give me a chance, and then we'll see. I promise you we'll do well. And, I'm one of the 100 applications. I think it was just the will that, like, I wouldn't see myself anywhere else. I honestly did not see myself going back to the States where sports is, it's the country of sports. But I thought Qatar is a place where I can create something that hasn't been really done so far, something with young people. And it was just that determination, that like I honestly don't see myself anywhere else. And, really finding any mean, not being shy. I think young people, today with everything we've witnessed, COVID and everything, we've kind of been tired and drained. And it's just like, why? You know, like I've already applied. I've sent. They've given me an interview. They didn't get back to me. How bad do you want it? It's really the question. Like, how bad are you willing to go to get into that same position, to get into that chair? Because I always knew I wasn't gonna be. I'm not the best journalist for this job. I knew there could have been someone better than me, more talented, has better voice. You know, but I don't think he can compete with me in getting this. So that's what I was always very proud of. You know.
Yeah. Which sportsman would you have been if you had that pick of all of them?
Of course, you want to be the leader. You know, I you know, a lot of icons I have are like Muhammad Ali's, which I got to interview his brother right after the World Cup, which was, I think, the greatest interview I've had so far in my life.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just standing next to that family is insane. But honestly, I want to say team leader, but I'm not. I'll be honest. I think it's more of the person that says, like, we got to make 10 points in less than 2 minutes. Let's find out. I'm that person. That's like, it sounds like we're not gonna win this game, but I'll try at least.
Yeah.
So I'm that guy.
So come on, what sport is it? Basketball?
Yeah,
or?
I think basketball. Yeah. And basketball's coming in Qatar, which I'm really.
Oh wow, 2027, right?
Yeah, FIFA
World champion.
Yeah.
World Championships.
And I'm a coach on the side, so I've been, you know, I coached Northwestern, and I've been watching this basketball really pick up. You know, they're having 3-on-3s. You know, they're having a tournament, in, I think this week or the next, and it's really good. It's refreshing because it's now you got football, you know, you got paddle, you got all these things, and now Qatar is really raising its stakes. I mean, who knew like it can host FIBA, but it's happening.
Yeah.
It's on to the next year.
And it's just a matter of time before they get all the sports coming here.
The Olympics. We're at the summer of the Olympics.
That's what they're talking about now. So it's kind of and again, and people might say impossible. There's nothing impossible for that. They get the whole nation behind them.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that with that power, that anything can happen. Do you still send all your stuff home to your mum and dad?
When I go back, I bring it with me. Sending it is a cost, but I always send links, if you mean that, like
yeah,
I
links.
share. Yeah, I always share, especially when I'm really proud of it. So I share it to them, and it's always a heart, or it's like really good, especially my younger brothers who I see, them kind of following my steps or finding somewhere in the media world. So I'm always sharing with the family,
And who's the most proudest?
I think my father was. I mean, my mom was proud, but my father was like, my son's there talking about the World Cup, watching, he's watching it with his friends. He's like, oh yeah, my son's there,
but
showing off a little.
Player.
And exactly. So I think he's extremely because nobody saw this coming. Just like, and how my career has transitioned from sports journalist to just journalist, really, from politics to evacuations. I think my parents are just really proud when it comes to who knew he could do that,
Are you impressed with yourself when you think you're because if you can go and do the earthquake one day and then sports and
yeah, I
think versatile. You seem to be very versatile.
Yeah.
Do you feel this?
Yeah. I'm extremely proud of myself, and I think it's nice because I honestly would have never guessed. I want to do a lot of great things and a lot of I have a lot of dreams, and this was one dream that I never saw coming. So that's just life, I guess.
I asked you today to bring something that meant a lot to you, and we've got this what looked to me like a tissue box.
Yeah, so when you sent me that text message, I was at the office and I was like, what do I bring? And it was right in front of me, and I put this in the office. It's all my media badges so far, and it's a lot from forums to events, football tournaments. Honestly, I just put it out here. It serves as a reminder of the things that I've done and a reminder of what's to come. And one day when I'm old, I'll show my kids, or go around.
Keep those, please keep them,
and say your father did that. So
yeah, which one of those is your most cherished?
I think the World Cup badge is somewhere there. So I would say that because I started everything. Not just because it's World Cup, but because it honestly started the sports conversation in Qatar, took it seriously, and made my job more serious. You know, because I'm sure a couple years ago, before the World Cup, if I said I'm a sports journalist, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, that makes sense, you know, in this sports capital of the country.
Oh, wow. It's kind of already you're creating some type of legacy for yourself.
I hope so.
The only thing with this is you've got to keep it up.
Yeah.
And how do you get that edge? How do you keep on thinking?
Yeah.
Do you not focus on that? Do you just focus on doing a good job?
Yeah, you know, I think my mental shift has changed, where, you know, this creating of a legacy. I don't think anybody that's, you know, these legends that we look at in the game or outside of the game, behind the scenes, they don't look at their career at the end and say, oh, I was always going to do that. You know, you just got to strive to be confident. And I know I'm going to create something, but right now I'm not keeping track. You know, I'm going with the flow. And I remind myself when I'm down, like, come on, you know, like, look at how far we've invested. You know, all these badges, it'd be disappointing just to go this far and then quit, or one day just, you know, say I don't want to do this anymore because I'm tired of showing up on camera or showing up to work and riding, giving all this effort. Because every day you can have a story that breaks the country, or you could have a, you know, presentation that really does inspires one other person. So, and it might be those days that you never count on.
The responsibility, I'm feeling it even more. The responsibility, do you feel it on your shoulders with trying to get the news out there, trying to get inspiration about certain things, about different sports, about different individuals?
I think now, because I'm a lot older than I was when I started. When I started, there was a lot of questions I was asking, and now I don't really ask. I know my job from A to Z. So now I feel like, because I know how serious media can play, you know, in the times that we're living in. So it wouldn't be fair just to be like, oh, this is an easy job. Yeah, you know, like, you know, I never really know when my day's gonna end. You know, today I was just like, okay, here, 5 is almost here. Let's hopefully we make it. But sometimes, you know, news breaks and you stay in late. Yeah. You know, or you got to go to an event. So it's that responsibility, because not a lot of people are in the place that I'm in. I'm one of very few journalists. You know, you don't see that a lot. You see accountants, you see all these things who do a lot of important things, but journalists were low in numbers. And even within that low, there's a lot where you're creating it for yourself, or you're doing it just because you really like doing it, and you hope one day somebody picks up on this and continues the tradition.
But I think you got heart. I think you got a real heart. I know that some journalists, and they get bad press about this, but some journalists are looking for that edgy stuff. Yeah. But you don't seem like that person at all. You want to get the news out there.
I don't even have Instagram. So just on Twitter, and I don't have a public, you know, my LinkedIn, I guess. But yeah, I don't really care about the likes. You know, Doha News, we're very social media, we're a digital platform. And, you know, I could check, but I often don't. I honestly, if I like it, I'm like, hope everyone else likes it. If not, it's fine. You know, I liked it.
Do you find it difficult to look back at yourself doing pieces?
Yeah. I'll be honest, yeah, it does. But it's also a relief, because when I look back, I'm like, oh, wow, what was I wearing? How did I look? And how was I speaking? But now it's just like, at least there's been growth. You know, every year, like when it comes to my birthday, I'm like, if I haven't grown, nothing really celebrate. But there's always growth somewhere.
This is going to be difficult. Who's your inspirations?
It's not difficult. For people that watch this, my friends are gonna guess the answer, but it's Kobe Bryant. You know, because I love mentality. You know, I love, like, when someone presents something that's so difficult, and consistency is really difficult. To be straight on your path every single day, 365 days a year, you know, and, you know, you'll get hit by these things, and life will throw whatever it has on you, and you just keep going. I find that, you know, really prevalent with what Kobe Bryant did. As a young boy, I was like, I'm never going to be in the NBA, but his mentality is something I can take on. And that's something I try to keep on going with, that, you know, you really got to do the best. You know, we have such a short life. Anything can happen at any moment. And our time is now, you know. Our
time is now. Who's that one person that you would love to interview?
Oof, that's a tough question. Any sport.
Any.
Dead or living or living? Let's do living.
I'm going to say living.
Yeah. That makes it difficult.
Because I want to see if you achieve it. And when you do achieve it, I want to celebrate with you.
Man, I would have to say... this is difficult, really. There's so many names popping in my head. The first name that really came up to me was Ronaldo. And not because of what he's done, but what he's doing now. You know, the change of going to Saudi Arabia, playing in the Middle East. You know, it could have been Qatar, for instance. It could have been easily Qatar, but it was Saudi. And what he's done to the game at his level, at his age, is insane. And his mentality is also personified on the pitch. So it would, as of right now, yeah. Like if I saw Ronaldo, I'd probably lose it. You know.
Yeah, mine was David Beckham.
Oof. And did you?
I got to do that.
Okay.
And I say I got to interview him. He was sitting right next to me. It was kind of strange, but it was really special because, and people say when you meet an idol, then it doesn't always work out that great.
Yeah.
But it was even better.
Oh, wow.
Because he's just been a role model for so many years. And I admire that. I admire how they conduct themselves. And yeah, that was one of my highlights of my life.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was quite nervous. It was just the case. But there again, he makes you feel such at ease, right?
Yeah,
it's like you knew him.
Yeah. Because
you've watched him and you've watched him grow. You think you know him because he's in the press all the time, right? And he's a superstar, and so he should be. But it felt that you knew him, and he was in supreme condition. Even at we're getting older, right? We're all getting older, but he's in supreme condition, and he was such a nice guy. There was an Indian guy that came up to me and said, "Could you get him to sign my ball?" I said, "You ask him." And he said, "Sir, could you get him to do it, please?
Yeah.
You're going to sit next to him." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So I got the ball, and so I'm there waiting for him, and he comes in, and he's going to meet the England band leaders, right? And he puts in his book that it was one of the biggest reasons why he scored the Greece goal, because he could hear them drumming in the background, and it gave him something to focus on, and he was able to focus. So that's what he did. So he hadn't seen them since that time. He hadn't seen them. He only heard them. And, with all the people that was waiting for him, he virtually went over to them first. And 1 minute is a long time, and he hugged every single one of them because he says that changed his life. So he looked at me and he said, "Could I just have the ball?" And what they did was they did the sound again, and he was going through the motion again of kicking the football. So he had this ball. Now that was a story. It was a lovely touch. He didn't actually kick it, but he went through the motions, and then as it was all done, he started walking off, and then he stopped. Everybody was pulling him away, and he stopped, and he went back and he picked the football up, and he said. And he threw it back to me to say, "Thanks very much." That was just something else for me. That just showed me what a gigantic person he was. He was remembering the bands, people, and the ball. He didn't just it wasn't just stardom. He really cares about other people. So for me, that was my one of my pinnacles that I've always that I'll always remember forever.
Yeah, take you really along.
Signing my shirt was another. I was, but that was for me so interviewing. I hope you do get to interview Ronaldo, and I think you could possibly do. One day you're going to be able to do that because I'm sure your paths are going to cross. Doha News is something special. You've got you really. They've done really well. I've seen them from the very beginning. To now. And they've had to rethink themselves on a couple of occasions where but they're on form. They're one of the biggest here now.
I'm proud of
and
their work.
They're really great platform. So congratulations. What I want to ask you as well. What is that message you're going to say to all those budding journalists to say, hey, listen, you just got to keep on working hard?
Yeah. When you're in college, you get overwhelmed by all these big names that we see, that we have, these anchors, these journalists that have verified on Twitter, 1 million followers. I honestly think, like, if they can do it, you can as well. And it's as simple as that. Like, it's passion that drives that. And then there's blessings that are rewarded based off the hard work that you've accomplished. So if you really want to do it and you really believe in the mission or the vision that you have, if you have a vision, you can really achieve it. So, especially in Qatar, like, really get yourself out there. Really start your portfolio now. You don't have to wait till you get a job, till you get inked with Doha News or Al Jazeera or whenever these platforms. Just really start now. Podcast. Create a name for yourself.
Yeah, build a
journal,
brand. Yeah.
Blog. Yeah, the brand is you.
Yeah.
Personalities are always the brand. It's never the organization. It's always the people behind it. And these kids have so much resources. Utilize it. As a college kid, sometimes I didn't. And I'm glad that I paid attention when I needed to, but I could have done a little bit more. So it's always just about that. Really don't undermine yourself.
What are we going to see of you in the next year?
Oh, this is a question my mom was asking me. Is it marriage? Is it what?
Are you getting that pressure?
These questions rise up. You live alone, so what are you doing? But honestly, I really cementing myself within the community, cementing our Doha News' work, our organizations like Mission, really reaching out. I love doing the big tournaments, but I want to do the small ones. I really want to do the guy that's around the corner that's been trying to get into the national team for years, and how he's trying to accomplish that. We've met so many small time stories, but big impacts that would do so wonderful with us, or any organization if done right. So I really just want to put myself there. I like that. I think it's the small guys, the underdogs always win. When their time is right. So that's what I envision for myself. Okay,
let's name a few. Give me a few kind of superstars that you see coming out of here. Ones that you get excited with.
So I'll name the biggest one that so far that I recently was in touch with was Mohamed Eltayeb. He's going to be at the Olympics this Paris Olympics, and I see him as honestly he's the greatest high jumper. Honestly, if you see him, it's insane what these guys can do. It's not even human. How they can pull their might. I love watching Akram Afif.
Yeah.
He's such a star player at the AFC. What he did, it's taking Qatar, which nobody had on their bet to win it. When it happened, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it's honestly just, and it's really about the guys that haven't created a name for themselves yet. The guys that are still in the Division 2, Division 3 that are climbing their way up. But now that we're accomplishing, or we're en route to the Paris Olympics, it's what Qatar's athletes and the representation there, and maybe we'll be there as well, Doha News. So if we are, that would be a blessing as well. So
I wish you all the luck. You deserve to be there. You deserve to be there. I'm really thankful for the messages that you're giving. I kind of it's wonderful. We did the podcast because we wanted to shine a light on sportsmen and women and businesses within the sports ecosystem, and people like yourself that is doing a real good value out there, and it's trying to encourage that community, trying to encourage that young sports star or young child to get inspired by the stars and the stars that we should be promoting at every opportunity. So I wish you all the best for the future. I think you're a talented young man. I think the world's at your feet. You've just got to go, as you said, you've just got to go and do it and believe in yourself, and just keep on believing in yourself, and don't take no or anything for an answer. Just keep pushing forward. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you. And I hope you are in the covering the Olympics, because that's going to be something special for you.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Steve. This was great, and thank you, listeners, and just continue to really do your platform.
I'm so glad that people are like you that's out there, honestly, because without that, without people, and I don't want to say this, but without people like us, we've got to encourage, we've got to push, we've got to kind of, come on, you can do this.
Absolutely.
And you do a fantastic job at Doha News, and I've got to say that. I've been watching your stuff and I've been looking at that stuff, and you're impressive. Just keep on doing what you're doing. That's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it this week. Sports from a different perspective, okay? But what we've got to do is we've got to keep on understanding that those people that are putting all that dedication, that determination into whatever they love, we've got to support them. We've got to promote them at every opportunity. That's what we've got to do. That's our obligation. And I do want to say also, in saying all of this, and I don't want to forget our sponsors also, these kind of things are important, okay? We've got to all work together to be able to get that message out. So Workington, thank you so much indeed. You do so much with us, with our podcast, but I know what you do within the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, and which I love you for what you're doing. So thank you so much for being part of our journey, and thank you for being part of our journey today, and thank you ever so much for listening. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.